There is a quiet truth about success that most people never hear, not because it's hidden, but because it's simple. The life you are living right now is answering questions you've been asking yourself every single day, not out loud. Not consciously, but consistently. And as we step into 2026, I want you to understand this. Your future is not shaped by luck, timing, or other people. It is shaped by the questions you ask yourself when no one is watching. Because questions are powerful. Questions direct focus. Questions tell your mind what to search for. And what your mind searches for, it finds. If you ask yourself, why does this always happen to me? Your mind will deliver evidence. If you ask, what's wrong with me? Your mind will build a case. But when you change the question, you change the direction of your life. Today, I want to give you 3 questions, simple daily questions that have the power to realign your thinking, your energy, and your actions. Ask them every morning. Ask them every night. Ask them until they become part of who you are. And 2026 will not recognize the person you become. Every single day, whether you realize it or not, you are asking yourself questions that quietly shape your destiny. These questions run in the background of your mind, like a constant inner conversation, and your life responds to them with precision. Not based on what you say you want, but based on what you consistently ask yourself to look for. When you ask disempowering questions, you train your mind to deliver disempowering answers. Questions like, why is my life so hard? Why do others get opportunities and I don't? What if I fail? What if it never works out? These questions don't motivate you, they confine you. Your mind, which is a powerful problem-solving machine, immediately begins gathering evidence to support those questions. It finds proof of limitation, confirms fear, and strengthens doubt. But here is the truth that changes everything. Your mind does not judge the quality of your questions. It simply answers them. So when you begin asking better questions, your entire internal system shifts. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? You ask, what strength is being developed in me right now? The moment the question changes, your focus changes. And when focus changes, perception changes. When perception changes, behavior changes. And when behavior changes, results follow. This is why asking the right questions daily is not a motivational trick. It is a life strategy. Your questions determine what you notice, what you ignore, and what you believe is possible. If you wake up each morning asking, what could go wrong today? Your nervous system prepares for threat, your body tightens, your decisions shrink, and your confidence lowers. But if you wake up asking, what opportunity is available to me today? Your posture changes, your energy opens, and your mind starts scanning for growth instead of danger. This is not wishful thinking. This is mental conditioning. The most successful people are not those with fewer problems. They are those who ask higher quality questions in the presence of problems. They ask, how can this work for me? What can I do differently today? Who can I learn from? What is one step forward I can take right now? These questions activate creativity, resilience, and courage. And the power is not in asking these questions once. It is in asking them repeatedly. Daily repetition trains the brain. Just as the body responds to repeated physical movement, the mind responds to repeated mental direction. Over time, your questions become habits, and your habits become your identity. You stop reacting unconsciously, and you start responding intentionally. This is how people break cycles. This is how people rewrite stories. This is how people step into years like 2026 with clarity instead of confusion. When you commit to asking empowering questions every day, you take back authorship of your life. You stop outsourcing your power to circumstances, to other people, to the past. You become the observer, the director, and the decision maker. And slowly, almost quietly, your life begins to answer you differently. Because the moment you change the question, you give your life permission to change the answer. Clarity is not a luxury, it is a necessity for anyone who wants to move forward with purpose. Most people do not fail because they lack talent, resources, or opportunity. They fail because they lack clarity. When you are unclear about what you want, you hesitate. When you hesitate, you lose momentum. And when momentum is lost, confidence begins to fade. The mind cannot move powerfully toward what it cannot clearly see. Many people confuse business with progress. They stay active, occupied, constantly doing something, yet they feel stuck. Why? Because movement without direction is exhausting. Clarity gives direction to your effort. It tells your energy where to go. It filters distractions. It simplifies decisions that once felt overwhelming. When you know what you truly want, your choices become cleaner and lighter. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop entertaining paths that lead nowhere. You stop confusing urgency with importance. Every decision begins to pass through a single question: does this move me closer to what I want or further away from it? That is power. But clarity requires honesty. It asks you to sit with yourself and separate your true desires from borrowed ones. Society is loud. Expectations are heavy. Comparison is everywhere. Without clarity, you end up chasing goals that were never yours and wondering why they don't fulfill you when you reach them. Clarity means knowing what success looks like for you. It means understanding not just what you want to achieve, but how you want to feel while achieving it. Peace, freedom, impact, joy, stability, growth. These feelings are not bonuses, they are signals. When your goals align with your values, momentum flows naturally. When they don't, resistance shows up as burnout, procrastination, and self-sabotage. Clarity also removes fear. Fear thrives in vagueness. When the path is unclear, the mind fills the gaps with worst-case scenarios. But when your goal is defined, even if it is challenging, the fear loses its grip. You may still feel discomfort, but you are no longer paralyzed. You know where you are going, and that knowing creates courage. This is why clarity must be revisited daily. Life evolves, and so do you. What mattered last year may not matter now. Daily reflection keeps you aligned. It allows you to course correct before you drift too far off track. As you gain clarity, something remarkable happens. Momentum begins to build. Small actions compound, confidence grows, progress becomes visible. And once momentum starts, it becomes self-reinforcing. You want to keep going, not because you are forcing yourself, but because movement feels natural. Clarity also sharpens focus. In a world full of noise, focus is a competitive advantage. When you are clear, you are not easily distracted by other people's opinions or timelines. You trust your pace. You honor your process. You understand that saying no is not rejection, it is protection. And perhaps most importantly, clarity restores self-trust. When you know what you want and you consistently act in alignment with it, you rebuild belief in yourself. You prove to yourself day by day that you can be relied upon. That is how momentum is born, not from pressure, not from perfection, but from clarity. When you know where you are going, every step matters. And when every step matters, nothing feels wasted. One of the most misunderstood truths about success is this: results do not come first, identity does. Long before you achieve the life you desire, you must become the person capable of sustaining it. Many people focus on chasing outcomes, money, recognition, success, freedom, but they overlook the inner foundation required to hold those outcomes once they arrive. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. If your self-image does not match what you are asking for, resistance will show up. It may appear as procrastination, self-doubt, fear of visibility, or even sabotage at the moment things start working. This is not because you are broken, it is because your identity has not expanded yet to meet the new level. This is why lasting change always begins from the inside. Ask yourself, who is the person that already has what I want? How do they think? How do they speak to themselves? How do they respond to pressure, failure, and uncertainty? Identity is revealed not in comfort, but in moments of challenge. When things go wrong, do you collapse or do you recalibrate? That response is identity in action. Becoming is a daily practice. You do not wake up one morning and suddenly transform. You build identity through repeated choices, small actions done consistently, especially when no one is watching. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce a new self-image. Each time you act in alignment with your future self, you tell your nervous system, this is who I am now. This is how confidence is built, not through affirmations alone, but through evidence. The person you are becoming chooses discipline over excuses. They choose growth over comfort. They choose long-term vision over short-term relief. These choices may feel uncomfortable at first because they require you to step outside familiar patterns. But discomfort is often a sign of expansion. Identity change also requires patience. You must allow yourself to practice being the future version of you before you fully believe it. This means showing up even when the results are not immediate. It means acting with integrity even when no one is applauding. It means trusting the process when progress feels invisible. Most people quit here not because it isn't working, but because the identity shift feels unfamiliar. But here is the truth. The moment you start thinking, deciding, and behaving like the person you want to become, your environment begins to respond differently to you. Opportunities align. People treat you differently. You begin to see possibilities you once ignored. This is not coincidence. It is congruence. Your outer world reflects your inner standards. When your standards rise, so do your outcomes. You stop tolerating what no longer fits. You stop negotiating with habits that keep you small. You become intentional about who you allow into your life and what you allow into your mind. And eventually, the result you once chased meets you naturally because you are no longer trying to become worthy of it. You already are. Achievement is not a destination. It is a byproduct. It follows identity. It does not lead it. When you focus on becoming, success stops feeling heavy. It becomes inevitable. That is the power of identity. Become first, receive second. Motivation is powerful, but it is unreliable. It rises and falls with mood, energy, and circumstances. Self-inquiry, on the other hand, is steady. It is the quiet, daily practice of checking in with yourself, asking intentional questions, and choosing awareness over autopilot. This is where real transformation begins, not in moments of inspiration, but in moments of honesty. The mind is shaped by repetition. Every thought you think strengthens a neural pathway. Every question you ask teaches your brain what to focus on. When you practice daily self-inquiry, you are not just reflecting, you are rewiring. You are training your mind to pause, to observe, and to respond with intention rather than impulse. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, react to the day, respond to emotions, and repeat the same patterns without ever questioning them. Self-inquiry interrupts that cycle. It creates a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap lies choice, and in choice lies power. When you ask yourself questions like, what am I feeling right now? Why am I reacting this way? What story am I telling myself? You bring unconscious patterns into the light. Awareness dissolves their control. What once ran you silently can now be examined, adjusted, and redirected. This practice does not require hours of journaling or perfect conditions. It requires consistency. 5 minutes of honest self-inquiry every day is more powerful than 1 hour of reflection done once a month. Consistency compounds. Over time, small daily check-ins reshape the way you think, feel, and act. This is why consistency always beats motivation. Motivation waits for the right mood. Consistency moves regardless of mood. When you commit to daily self-inquiry, you show up even on the days you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. And those are the days when it matters most. Through daily questioning, you begin to notice patterns. You see which thoughts drain you, which habits sabotage you, and which environments support your growth. You stop personalizing temporary emotions and start understanding them as signals. This emotional intelligence strengthens resilience. Instead of being overwhelmed by feelings, you learn to listen to them. Self-inquiry also builds self-trust. Each time you pause and ask yourself what you need, what you are avoiding, or what would serve you best in this moment, you affirm that your inner voice matters. Over time, that voice becomes clearer and stronger. You stop seeking constant validation from the outside because you are anchored on the inside. This practice also sharpens alignment. You catch yourself sooner when you drift off course. You notice when your actions no longer match your values. And because you notice early, correction becomes gentle instead of dramatic. You don't need breakdowns to create breakthroughs. You create growth through awareness. Daily self-inquiry does not make life perfect. It makes it conscious. And a conscious life is a powerful one. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of default. You lead yourself instead of waiting to be led by circumstances. Over time, this discipline transforms your inner dialogue. The questions you ask become more empowering. The answers become more honest. And the mind, once driven by fear and habit, becomes an ally instead of an obstacle. This is how change becomes sustainable. Not through bursts of motivation, but through the quiet commitment to show up for yourself every single day. When you master self-inquiry, you master the direction of your life. Every new level of life demands a release. Growth is not only about adding more knowledge, more habits, more goals, or more effort. Just as often, growth is about subtraction. It is about recognizing what no longer serves you and having the courage to let it go. Many people try to build a new future while carrying the weight of an old identity, and they wonder why progress feels heavy. You cannot step into a new season while clinging to an old story. Letting go begins internally. It starts with the beliefs you repeat, the narratives you defend, and the labels you've accepted about yourself. Beliefs formed in survival seasons may no longer fit a season of expansion. What once protected you may now be limiting you. When you hold on to outdated beliefs, you unknowingly cap your potential. Release requires awareness, and awareness requires honesty. Ask yourself daily, what belief am I holding on to that no longer reflects who I am becoming? What fear keeps showing up even though I have outgrown it? What habit feels familiar but no longer aligned? These questions are not meant to judge you. They are meant to free you. Letting go also involves emotional release. Old disappointments, unresolved resentment, and unspoken grief take up mental and emotional space. Carrying them forward does not protect you, it drains you. When you hold on to the past, you anchor yourself to experiences that are already over. Release does not mean forgetting. It means loosening the grip so the past no longer controls the present. This process can feel uncomfortable because the mind prefers familiarity over freedom. Even pain can feel safer than the unknown. But growth always lives on the other side of discomfort. When you let go, you create room for new energy, new ideas, and new opportunities to enter. Letting go also applies to identity. Sometimes you must release the version of yourself that was shaped by limitation. The person who doubted, settled, or stayed silent to survive. Honor that version, but do not live there anymore. Growth asks you to evolve, not remain loyal to who you once were. Release is an act of self-respect. It says, I am no longer available for patterns that keep me small. It says, I trust myself enough to move forward without dragging the past with me. Each time you release something that no longer aligns, you reinforce a higher standard for your life. This is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. Each day offers opportunities to release negative self-talk, comparison, unrealistic expectations, and the need for external approval. Small releases compound into profound transformation. When you let go, clarity increases. When clarity increases, decisions become easier. When decisions become easier, momentum follows. And with momentum comes growth that feels natural instead of forced. Expansion requires space. Nature teaches this lesson effortlessly. Trees shed leaves to survive winter. Rivers let go of resistance to keep flowing. Growth is not about holding tighter, it is about flowing forward. As you move toward 2026, understand this truth. What you release today determines what you can receive tomorrow. Let go with intention. Trust the process. Trust yourself, because the moment you stop holding on to what no longer serves you, you open the door to everything you have been asking for. As you stand at the edge of a new year, understand this truth clearly: nothing changes until you do. 2026 is not powerful because of the calendar. It is powerful because of the choices you make within it, the questions you ask, the clarity you claim, the identity you build, the consistency you practice, and the courage you show in letting go. These are the forces that shape your future. When you ask better questions daily, you stop living by default and start living by design. When you gain clarity about what you truly want, your energy stops scattering and begins to move with purpose. When you choose to become the person before receiving the result, you align your inner world with the life you desire. When you practice daily self-inquiry, you rewire your mind for awareness, resilience, and growth. And when you let go of what no longer serves you, you create the space required for expansion. This is not about perfection. It is about commitment. Small, intentional actions repeated daily create extraordinary outcomes over time. You do not need to have everything figured out today. You only need to be willing to ask the right questions, listen honestly to the answers, and take the next aligned step forward. Let 2026 be the year you stop waiting for permission, the year you stop doubting your worth, the year you stop carrying old stories into new seasons. Choose yourself daily, and life will meet you there. Because when you change the way you think, you change the way you live. And when you live with intention, everything you want stops feeling distant and starts feeling inevitable.